He said, do I think it's a good idea to sell our prisoners to other states? Because first of all, the question is, all you did was legal. It's already slavery. And so now you're selling them to another state, right, for their profit. Secondly, California is not going to get rid of its issues, right, deal with its social issues by pawning them off to another state, first of all.
Will you be comfortable with your children growing up in the society they're growing up in if you fail to do something about what's happening now? That's why we fight, to try to make the conditions better for our children. That's why it's so important that you hear struggles like this and understand that there only are changes made by your participation. Most likely you'll know when a student in your school has been murdered, whether it be by the police or someone in the streets. However, the person around the corner from you or the next school, you hear it, but you don't pay any attention to it. You may hear about people going out protesting and rallying about a killing that's taking place. But, hey, that don't have nothing to do with me. I want to go home and, get on my PS3 or my Game Boy. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got time for that. But the reality of it is you got to start making time. Because if you fail in your responsibility to become your brother's keeper, your best friend's keeper, your neighbor around the corner's keeper, right? Then you fail in your responsibility to make this society safe for your children. And then you'll be standing. You understand that we're dealing with a criminal justice system, right? That we can really say, in many ways, that is by design to incarcerate the black and brown men. Because if I ask the question, how many black and brown men, what percentage of the prison population has the black and brown men? It's more than 50%. It's about 70 plus some percent of the black and brown men fill up the United States prison system. How many men, black and brown, basically were stopped and frisked last year in New York? 750,000 plus. You see what I'm saying?
In prison have very little access. They have no access to the media. Their voices are really silenced. Prisons are intentionally far away from neighborhoods and communities where people live and are arrested. And that's an intentional move on the government to silence people and to keep this issue out of our perspective, right? All of society is built up to divide us. And by me sitting in a room with someone who has been deemed a criminal and I'm supposed to be afraid of is speaking back to that and is really about challenging racism, challenging capitalism, challenging all of these various things that the prison system relies upon to exist. Two systems of violence that are happening for a lot of our members. The first being the abusive situation that they're in the first place, and the second being that the system that's supposed to protect them is denying them the ability to talk about self-defense and to allow all those years of abuse to be present in the courtroom. So then a lot of our members went down for life sentences or for very long sentences when really what happened was not adequately represented in the courtroom. Luckily now that's not the case, and what we're seeing happen is some of our members are able to have their cases reopened, and that evidence of self-defense is then reintroduced into their case, and some of our members, not nearly enough, are being released as a result of this. I'm
the mom of a now 21-year-old, and she got incarcerated at the age of 16 to juvenile hall. It took about a year and a half for her to get her trial, and she was put into adult court, which meant on her 18th birthday, instead of celebrating her 18th birthday, she was put from juvenile hall into San Francisco County Jail. And she has been in there now for over 4 years, waiting for her trial. There has not been a trial yet.
I have a clear indication of anxiety. I've been labeled generalized anxiety because I get anxiety as in when people start moving around real fast and like in a store, you have all those noises, people calling over the intercom and everyone going to which way in a different direction. I get a little anxiety like what the, because in prison you only go one way. Everyone goes the same way. In the past, you had to have your shirts tucked in and your hands in your pocket. You don't have to do that now, but you still go in that same way. So when a whole bunch of people are walking in one direction or a whole bunch of directions, I get a little like paranoid. It's a month, so if your family sends you money, they take 22% of it, and then you only get to shop so much a month. If your family sends you $100, you get 88 of it. And that's what you have to shop for the whole month. I believe that solitary confinement is the absolutely worst thing you could probably do to a person. Because first of all, in prison you do get a little bit of sunlight, you get a little exercise. In solitary confinement you don't have a roommate, you don't have no one to talk to. That you are in a room, there's no sunlight, the window that you have is covered where you can't see out and nobody can see in, so there's no use for a light. There's, you don't get anything back there but a Bible. I'm not saying you know, that if that's your religious privilege, you know, that's what you would choose to do, but I don't think that you could read a Bible 24/7, 7 days a week there are people been back in solitary confinement that I know of for 7 years. So when they come out, they are so skittish, you know, like, I don't know how to call it, but they want to go back. Where versus me, I just came from prison, and there is no way in hell I want to go back. But they want to go back to that small room because that's what they're used to.
In an effort to reduce the overcrowding in the men's prisons, they've been transferring people and sort of shuffling them throughout the state. But what's happening as a result of this is that now the women's prisons are severely, severely overcrowded. So we've gotten rid of one facility for women. Thousands of women and transgender people have been transferred from that facility into the 2 remaining state prisons. So one of them is across the street. It's called Central California Women's Facility. Usually it has a capacity of 2,000 people, which is still so much, if you guys can imagine. And right now it's almost at 4,000 people. So it's 185% at capacity. So this is part of the eight people in a room. They're preparing to turn the gym and the day room into bedrooms with bunk beds in there. It means a delay, and even more of a delay in medical care. So we're seeing some of our members who were on prescribed medication at Valley State Prison are having to go back in front of a 12-panel of doctors to prove that they have an illness to get the same medication that they've been on for years. And so this is life-threatening for a lot of people. We're also seeing that elderly people who need to use a wheelchair or a walker, or people with disabilities who usually have priority to be on the lower bunk because it's just easier. That priority has now been disregarded and they're being forced to climb to the top bunk of bunk beds. And you know, people are tense, like their entire lives have been disrupted and uprooted, friends that they've made, partners they've made inside, you know, these chosen families that people have, programming, all of this has been uprooted and people are really, really suffering as a result of this conversion. And so
There is no public health awareness in the prison itself. People that have HIV, of course there's drugs run rapid in the prison system, but there's only one needle, so guess who shares it? All the needle users use it. Are pregnant in prison, there's not enough food and I don't know, not enough food or health care. You get to see the doctor maybe once a month if you have any type of complication. You have to fill out a piece of paper and then you put it in a box and you might get seen a week or two later, but you also have to pay $5 for that. So if you don't have $5, it kind of gets pushed back. And